Okay, so it kind of seems like I say how awkward and weird Christians are a lot of the time.
You do.
See,
Yep.
this is the type of stuff that makes Christians so awkward.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Like, this culture produced a lot of really awkward
Sure did.
teenagers.
Yep.
Who don't know how to relate to other people.
Right.
Especially of the opposite sex.
Exactly.
Because apparently all they're thinking about is sex and how much they can't have it.
Right. Right. And and basically like don't stay away from them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Why do all these cult things always have like the exact opposite effect of what they're doing, of what they're trying to do?
Yeah.
Why is that always the case?
I mean, we saw it in legalism, we saw it in hyper grace. It's just anytime you get to these extremes, because you can't
like, and the reason I'm saying that is because you're making these people like so undateable that it's like it's like you're
well,
they're not gonna like
right. Well, they are, and a large reason of that is they're told you can't date,
right.
And I think you're hitting on something. When the opposite sex relationships are only viewed through the lens of sex and sexuality,
right?
I mean, you've completely destroyed the ability for the opposite sex to actually be able to have healthy conversations and healthy relationships with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think, and that was one of the things that I addressed in that little conference I did was you had to talk about relationships. You had to talk about, how do I actually have a healthy relationship with someone from the opposite sex?
Because like, wouldn't this make young girls feel like that's all older men were looking at them as too? Like people who they weren't even interested in?
Sure.
You know, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that can be the case.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I think there's probably this sense of like...
And like, if these Christian boys are this horny, then think about all those other dudes out there. Like,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it just...
Stay absolutely 100 miles away from them.
Right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I do think that's part of the problem, right? Because we've created this, or purity culture created such in an attempt to try to keep kids from having sex, they've sexualized everything.
Right.
And so, or at least repressed sexual desires and sexual urges.
Which all you think about is how you have to repress it.
Right. And so without having a full, bigger picture of what's going on, right? Because, I mean, again, they're not going to openly talk about, really openly talk about sexual desires and sexual urges, right? So then you feel like you've got to repress even those things, which now you're just trying to repress something that's naturally wired into your being.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck with that, right? So, but no, I do think especially if the mindset, especially with girls, was always told, dress modestly, you'll cause them to dress modestly, then they have to feel like every single time a guy looks at them, they're objectifying them.
Right.
And and there's almost like no sense of, we can just be friends and hang out.
Was there a sense of dudes who wouldn't want to date girls unless they were wearing the ring or had been to the balls?
Well, if you were wearing the ring, you weren't going to date anyway, more than likely.
Or court.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. That question I'm not sure about. I just wasn't I wasn't in the culture enough to know. And so,
because the dudes could be looking at girls outside and being like, they ain't got rings on. That's going to be awkward for me to talk about. To talk to them.
Right.
I don't want to.
No. It's fair. Yeah, it's fair. I don't know, because I was just not, in my late teenage years after coming to know Christ, and then, being in college, all that kind of stuff, I wasn't in a church setting like that.
All I'm saying is it was creating undateable people that weren't gonna get married.
Yeah.
So
Well,
your goal of getting people married as virgins
yeah,
was not happening,
right.
because
Or it left them undateable, let's say maybe in high school.
Mhm.
But then if they go off somewhere, whether they're undateable there or it kind of goes the flip side of that. Right. So if I've never explored anything sexually, maybe I'm going to explore everything sexually.
Right.
And so,
Well, that's what I know from this,
yeah,
is that people grew up in this and then had sex one time, and then now they're completely the other direction.
yeah. And because especially when you discover that sex is actually pleasurable.
Right.
Then it's like, well, wait a minute.
I forgot about that part of this too.
Yeah. Like, well, then wait a minute.
Right.
If sex is actually pleasurable, and I was told it's bad, wrong, evil, those two things don't compute.
Right.
So you've got to be honest with teenagers that sex is actually enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that may feel like you're kind of fanning the flame a little bit within them, but you've got to be honest about that.
Right. It's true.
It's just true. Right. And it helps them see, again, a bigger picture of sex, that sex isn't just for procreation. Sex isn't just to have kids, right? It's not just doing the wifely duty once a month or something, right? Sex is supposed to be part of the marriage and in its normal rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we understand there's exceptions when there's health issues or things like that. We understand that, but sex is supposed to be an enjoyable part of marriage. And so it really does sadden me when that's not the case, because couples have experienced a purity culture that has just unfortunately caused them to just view sex in a wrong way.